Hi guys, Danny here from Dan's Tech. In today's video guys, we're going to be having a look at a RAID enclosure. This one's from Terramaster. This is the D4-310. It's a 4-bay enclosure, does support RAID modes 0, 1, single disc and also JBOD. And I had to do a little bit of googling actually to find out what JBOD stood for. It's just a bunch of discs. Very, very strange acronym. To be honest, I don't really know why you would want to use that thing. It essentially merges all your discs so your computer sees it as one. So if you have 4 2TB drives, you'll essentially have an 8TB volume pop up on your computer. Really don't know why you'd want to use that, but the RAID 0 and 1 features that this enclosure does have are incredibly useful, and even more useful if your current motherboard doesn't support any RAID modes. I know quite a few AMD boards don't. So without further ado, we'll be having a look at this enclosure. Going to be doing some tests, RAID 1 and 0 with hard drives and also a few SSDs. So yeah, we'll see how it is. And now, without further ado, let's get into it. So peeps, to get started, as for a quick unboxing, inside the box you get the enclosure itself and many accessories in the cardboard box. These include a power brick, many screws in separate bags, 2 screwdrivers, a disc reset tool, 2 pieces of documentation, 2 plugs, 1 UK and 1 European, and finally a USB 3.1 Type-C cable for data transfers. Packaging overall is great and offers decent protection against the main device in the box. Besides, the large dent on the outer box doesn't appear to have done any damage. Now onto the main unit, it comes in at 22.7cm in height, 22.5cm in width and 13.6cm in depth, with the weight of the unit being 2.06 kilo. The front of the device features all the LED lights, the power button and the access to all the hard drives. Also, both of the sides feature the Terramaster logo printed in black. Now under the device there's thick rubber pads to reduce hard drive vibrations on hard surfaces. Around back there are 2 small fans which blow the warm air out of the unit, of which I can report are extremely quiet. Around back you'll also find 2 USB 3.0 ports, power and data ports, in addition to 2 reset buttons and 2 disk setting switches. The modes this unit supports are RAID 1, RAID 0, JBOD and single disc modes. The unit is made of both plastic and metal, overall pretty sturdy, but would have liked to seen the drive sleds to be made of metal, or even just the front pieces of these to be metal at least. Moving on, as for installing your drives, you want to slide out the 4 sleds and align your drives with the appropriate screw holes. Once they're in place, you can screw the 4 screws into each hard drive. SSDs can of course be screwed into these sleds with the smaller screws included in another bag. For all my testing, I'll be using 2 Seagate desktop 2TB drives and 3 SSDs that are lying around. That'll include a 240GB Mushkin Kronos, a 120GB SanDisk SSD Plus and 120GB Kingston 300V drive. Onto the setup, you want to navigate to the website on the piece of card and read the instructions for configuring the unit. Now configuring hard drives is relatively easy. Essentially you want to select the disk mode around back with the mini screwdriver, hold the reset button in for 5 seconds, then initialize the disk in the disk manager in Windows and set a disk letter. Also, do be aware when configuring volumes above 2TB, you'll want to configure disks as the second option. This is called a GPT. This will enable the OS to format partitions this large. So moving on to the disk benchmarks, I've run a few tests with both the hard drives and the SSDs. So as for the tests with the mechanical hard drives first, in RAID 0 we achieved 324MB per second read and slightly faster write speeds at 325MB per second, surprisingly. Very close to topping out the USB 3.0 interface at around 350 to 400MB per second. In RAID 1 we of course see slower speeds due to the redundancy feature of RAID 1. Read speeds and write speeds both came back at 162MB per second exactly. Now as for the SSDs in both RAID modes, first up for RAID 1 with the SanDisk and Kingston SSDs, we have 355MB per second read and 213MB per second write. As for the higher end Mushkin drive paired with the Kingston drive, we see higher write speeds at 353MB per second, but slower overall read speeds of 284MB per second. And lastly, as for RAID 0 results with both the 120GB SSDs, we see 307MB per second read and 346MB per second write, demonstrating the real life maximum speed of the USB 3.0 interface. This proves there's no real point in putting many SSDs into RAID 0 due to the USB 3 transfer speed limitation. Now, as for power draw from the wall, the results were surprisingly low. The empty unit alone appears to pull around 3 to 4 watts, so the power figures are only increased from disk utilization. The figures I have are 16.2 watts for the 2 SSDs and 2 hard drives installed, 15.2 watts for the 2 hard drives alone installed, and 5.7 watts for the 2 SSDs installed in the unit alone. Overall, this unit is very efficient, and these tests should give you a representation of what typical power draw figures are going to look like. Anyhow, let's conclude. So guys, there we are, that's my review of the Terramaster D4-310. Yes, there we are. In general, a good enclosure. I do like look at this enclosure. Very steady construction. As I've said, I do wish that these actual caddy bays or even the front pieces were metal. There's probably a reason they are plastic, but I do really want to see the front pieces be metal. If you are paying, what is this unit, 150 to 160 pound? It's pretty expensive. So yeah, that's one kind of recommendation, one kind of improvement that I could suggest to Terramaster for future models. But from all my testing that I've done, and from me using this unit for the past few days, it's been solid. And you do get some very nice results for RAID 0 with your mechanical hard drives, which is nice, yes. RAID 0 on hard drives is not bad actually. You get SSD-like performance. Yeah. As I mentioned, the USB 3 interface does limit RAID 0 results for SSDs, so I really wouldn't recommend SSDs in this thing, but I suppose, yeah, is it kind of designed for that? Probably not, but the sleds do, of course, accommodate SSDs. You can kind of see a line here where it says you plug in the good old SSDs there, but you know, you can of course put them in the side of drives at the end of the day. So yeah guys, thank you very much for watching. I will have a link for this on Amazon in the description, as well as our link to Terramaster's website. You'll find photos and specs there. And yeah, my favourite video guys, thank you very much for watching. Please feel free to like, comment and also subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.